Okay, so right now, across India, something absolutely epic is happening. I mean, you have to forget what you think you know, because beyond all the familiar sights, a whole new nation is literally being forged in concrete and steel. We're talking about an ambition that is completely reshaping the landscape. This is a story of a mega build on a scale the world has, frankly, rarely ever seen.
So, that's the big question, right? How do you build the foundations for a modern superpower? Well, India is giving us a pretty powerful answer, and not with words, but with pure action. And listen, this isn't just about, laying down some roads and rails. No, this is about a fundamental rewiring of the entire economic engine for 1.4 billion people. And if you really want to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this ambition, it all comes down to this one number. Get this, Morgan Stanley projects that over just the next 5 years, India is set to spend $1.45 trillion on infrastructure. That's not just spending, folks. That's a massive declaration of intent.
So how in the world do you even organize an undertaking this massive? Well, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the trillion-dollar challenge India was facing. Then, we'll dive into the master blueprint that's guiding this whole thing. After that, we'll get into the incredible projects connecting the country. And finally, we'll see how it's all forging a brand new economy. Let's get into it.
All right, so what kicked off this whole trillion-dollar push in the first place? Well, to really get the solution, you first have to understand the problem. And for decades, India's path to becoming a global economic force, it was blocked by some really serious, deeply rooted hurdles. I mean, just think about it like this. For years, just moving something from point A to point B across the country was ridiculously expensive. We're talking about it eating up a staggering 14 to 16% of the entire country's GDP. That's almost double what it costs in most developed nations. You combine that with outdated infrastructure, traffic jams that choke entire cities, and just messy, disconnected planning, and you've got a system that's basically slamming the brakes on the whole nation's ambition. So how do you possibly fix all of that at once? Well, you don't do it with just random construction projects here and there. Nope, you do it with a master plan. A really sophisticated, digitally driven national strategy that's designed to untangle all those knots at the same time.
And this is it. It's called PM Gati Shakti. You can think of it as the digital brain at the very heart of this entire operation. It was launched back in 2021, and it's basically a single platform that's designed to do one thing and do it brilliantly, force everyone to plan together. It's all about breaking down those old government silos that caused so many delays for decades.
And check this out. This number really shows you the power of that idea. Gati Shakti connects 44 different central government ministries all on one digital platform. So all of a sudden, the people building the highway are actually talking to the people laying the fiber optic cables, who are talking to the people laying the gas pipelines. Can you imagine? And the result? Well, projects are finally aligned, and those classic bottlenecks just start to disappear.
And all this digital coordination, it's not just for show. It has one very clear, very powerful economic goal: to take those crippling logistics costs, you remember, from around 15% of GDP and slash them down to just 9%. The impact of that is just huge. It means every single product made in India becomes cheaper to move, and that makes it way more competitive on the world stage.
Okay, so we've seen the digital brain, the master plan. Now let's get to the physical body. This is where we see the concrete and steel, the absolutely awe-inspiring mega projects, these new steel arteries that are pumping life into this new, hyper-connected India. And it all starts on the ground, with projects like the Bharatmala Pariyojana. Now, this isn't just another road-building program. We're talking about one of the most ambitious on the entire planet. It's like a brand new web of economic corridors designed to stitch together every single corner of the nation.
I mean, the scale here is just mind-bending. Phase 1 alone covers nearly 35,000 kilometers of new highways. And that's not just about connecting dots on a map, It's about creating entirely new economic corridors, linking manufacturing hubs to ports and farms to markets in a way that just wasn't possible before.
And you can feel the impact almost instantly. Just take the new Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. What used to be a grueling 24-hour slog between India's political and financial capitals is now cut right in half, down to just 12 hours. I mean, just imagine what that does for business, for trade, for everything.
But hey, it's not just about the roads. The entire logistics network is getting a massive upgrade. You need to move goods faster on rail?
Okay, here are dedicated freight-only corridors. You need to connect with the world? Boom! Massive new deep-water ports like Vodafone are being built to handle the biggest container ships on the planet. And you need to conquer impossible geography? Well, here are incredible feats of engineering like the Zoggia Law Tunnel, connecting the remote Himalayas year-round for the very first time. It's happening on all fronts.
So we've got all this incredible new hardware, right? The roads, the ports, the rails. But what's the actual payoff? Well, the economic impact is already being felt, and it's sending ripples across every single sector of India's economy.
And look, you can see the proof right here in the numbers. The World Bank, which tracks this stuff really closely, saw India jump 6 spots up its Global Logistics Performance Index in just 5 years. That's a huge leap, and it's a direct result of these new, super efficient supply chains finally coming online.
And this new efficiency, it's the foundation for a massive manufacturing boom. See, the government launched something called the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, which is basically a fancy way of saying they reward companies for making stuff in India. And guess what? It's totally working. The clearest example? Just look at mobile phones. Thanks to these smoother supply chains, India has gone from being a country that mostly imports phones to a major global exporter. And that happened in just a few short years.
And you know, the impact goes way beyond just phones. Across 14 key sectors, this one-two punch of better infrastructure and smart incentives is delivering some incredible results. You can see the huge flood of new investment, the massive surge in production, and maybe most importantly, the creation of over 1 million new jobs. This right here, this is what economic transformation looks like when you boil it down to the hard numbers.
But the ambition doesn't just stop at assembling things. Oh no. The focus is now shifting to the very heart of modern technology, semiconductors. Through its semiconductor mission, India is making a really serious play to join the global chip race. It's about building those high-tech factories, the fabs, that are going to produce the brains for everything from electric vehicles to advanced defense systems.
And you better believe the rest of the world is taking notice. A recent Morgan Stanley report made a really powerful comparison. They said that when you measure infrastructure spending relative to the size of the economy, India now actually compares favorably to China. Now think about that. For decades, China was the undisputed benchmark for this stuff. That is changing right now.
So, when you step back and look at the big picture, what we're seeing is India building the hardware for a completely new economic era. The foundations, we're talking the roads, the ports, the digital networks, they're all being laid at a breathtaking speed. So the only question left, and it's the most exciting one of all, is now that this incredible stage is set, what will a nation of 1.4 billion people build on top of it?